Hello and welcome back, or welcome. I am Book Lover Lorna and we're now in 2021. Like, it's a madness. I just can't wrap my head around that. I'm not really a New Year's kind of person, but this year I am hopeful that, you know, it can't get any worse. It can only get better. We're only going up, kids. We're only going up. Seriously. Can't get any worse. But anyway, what I thought I would run you through is the books that I read in December. So my December wrap up, because I think that this is my best ever reading month. So that's super fab. Well done me. I don't know why I'm crossing my fingers, but well done me. Round of applause all around. Thank you very much. Now, in December, I read a massive 14 books, which is fantastic, and it helped me get up to my 82 books read for 2020, which is also the most books that I've ever read. So, you know, might have been a bit pandemic-y this year, but it's been a good reading year. That's one thing that 2020 was good for, is reading. So that's amazing. So 14 books read in December. Now some of these were Kindle books, so I don't have a physical copy with me, but I'll pop a picture of them up on the screen. I did aim to read, I think it was 10 books this month, which were in my TBR video. Obviously I've snuck in a few others here and there, and put an extra on the end. I did want to read a couple of more this month. As the month went on, I started realising there were books that I'd forgotten that I wanted to include every December, and I've not read those. So that's kind of sad. One of those was the Cardiff Christmas Club, and then another book, Christmas at the Fireside Cabins, I wanted to read. I bought it at the beginning of the month when December had already started, so I didn't put it in my TBR and therefore wasn't obligated to read it and didn't pick it up. But that's fine. I got quite stressed out at the end of December trying to force myself to like read all of these books that I wanted to read in December, just to like get up to like the perfect kind of round number. I got stressed out, I stopped, I was like, why am I doing this to myself? I've already smashed my Goodreads goal. So I just took a chill pill and landed on an even number of 82, because I don't do odd numbers. So there we are. Now I will go through these books in order and tell you what rating I've given them and a little bit about the books. So the first book that I read in December was Christmas at the Beach Hut by Veronica Henry. This was one of my ones on my TBR at the beginning of the month. Now this I gave 4 stars. I really did quite enjoy it. At the beginning I wasn't feeling it as much. I was a bit like, like this doesn't feel at all happy or at all Christmassy, but once we got maybe about 30-40% of the way through, I was starting to feel it. I was like, yes, I'm getting this. I'm glad that I read it at the beginning of the month. I've said in loads of other videos, I thought it would be a good idea to read this at the beginning of the month because it's got a beach hut in it in case it didn't feel too Christmassy, and it didn't feel that Christmassy, so I definitely made the right choice there to read it at the beginning of the month. To be quite honest, you could probably read this at any time of the year and it would be okay. I don't usually read Christmas books out of December, but this one, to be quite honest, you could very easily. So I gave that one 4 stars. I think it actually turns out that this is the 3rd book in a series, so that's fab. I don't know if it says on the front of here, but the reason I get that idea, there is one called The Beach Hut Next Door and The Beach Hut. So I'm thinking it might be The Beach Hut Next Door and Christmas at the Beach Hut. What do you think? And it does say on Goodreads that it's the 3rd book in the Beach Hut series. So it says The Beach Hut number 3. So that's okay. I didn't feel like I was missing out on anything there, but if I had read the others, maybe there might have been some things where I'm like, oh, I know this person already. Just familiarity, yeah. So this actually has an average rating on Goodreads of 4.3 stars, so that's quite good. Everyone else is enjoying it. Yeah, like I said, I didn't give it 5 stars, but I wasn't really, didn't blow my socks off. Did not blow my socks off. That's why it got 4. Yes. My second book of December was Christmas at Mistletoe Cove by Holly Martin. This is book number 3 in the Hope Island series. I had to brain malfunction then. Number 3 in the Hope Island series. This one, I didn't tell you anything about what this was about. Let's go back a bit, rewind. There is this lady called Lizzie, and she's got 2 older twin kids, essentially, and a husband, and they are not very attentive. They kind of take advantage of her, which, to be honest, she sounds like a goddess. I probably would too, not gonna lie. She gets Christmas like ace, but it's like super stressful. She lost herself a little bit. She's not had a job, and she's just like a little stray. Like she's a bit stray with herself. She's got a home and everything, but she doesn't really feel at home. So basically what happens is that the kids and the husband don't turn up for the night where they said they were going to put up the Christmas decorations, I believe it was. They don't turn up. They all cancel for different reasons. They don't know that they've all cancelled. She is like, I'm not having this. So she buggers off down to this beach hut, which is owned by a friend of hers. And there's someone else there, and it's basically what happens while she's down there. The process of the family realising that she's not at home, which takes them a while. Yeah, and like them trying to find her again because they can't get contact with her or anything. So it's a bit more of a lost soul story than a Christmas story, but it is set at Christmas. So yeah. Now back to Christmas at Mistletoe Cove. So this is about Eden and Dougie, and their romance has been brewing for the first 2 books in the Hope Island series. And they've kind of been on the edge of like everybody knows that they love each other or they have a thing for each other. But, I mean, I did when I was reading it anyway. It's very well known that Eden has a thing for Dougie, but not so much that Dougie has a thing for Eden. But when you're reading the other 2 books, you can kind of tell. It's setting the scene for what's going to happen. I feel like I've been waiting so long for Eden and Dougie to get together that I just kind of knew everything that was going to happen. But it's possible that this might have been good read on its own, because then you wouldn't have been expecting everything and it would have been a bit more surprising and everything. Possibly that might have been better, but I think it's because I was kind of in the other 2 books just waiting and waiting and waiting for them to get together. So I did enjoy it. What did I give it? I think I gave it 4 stars, and I usually give her books 5 stars. Yeah, so 4 stars, and it only didn't get 5 stars because the anticipation was just too much. Like I knew what was going to happen. You could definitely read this one on its own, I think, but maybe it's because I was so invested in the others. I don't know. The 3rd book that I read in December was Christmas at the Beach Cafe by Lucy Diamond, which is a novella. Now I read this on my Kindle app and I gave it 4 stars. I have read it before, although I don't think that I told my Goodreads that I'd read it before, because I think this was the one where it said I haven't read it, and I have. I know I have. But it might have been before the days of me being on Goodreads. Now, it's basically about Evie, who runs the Beach Cafe. Also, the Beach Cafe, the main book by Lucy Diamond, is one of my favourite Lucy Diamond films. Massively recommend that you read that. I might actually give that a reread this year. So, yeah, just saying, read that one. Evie runs the Beach Cafe, and it's her first Christmas with her boyfriend Ed. She wants everything to go really smooth. And basically, like, his brother turns up, who's been like traveling and stuff, and also like her friend, and it's basically a bit of a mishap, like not mishap, bit of a mishmash. That's the one. Mishmash of a Christmas. There are actually a few mishaps. There are a few arguments, there's some laughter, there's a funny photography scene. You'll need to read the book to know what I'm on about. But yeah, that's like a super cute. It wasn't very long, but it was a nice one to just whiz through as an extra book in December. The 4th book that I read in December was Snowflakes Over Moondance Cottage by Rosie Green. Again, this was a Kindle book. I think I actually got this one free as like my Kindle book of the month or something like that, which I only just figured out last month was an actual thing. So I've been missing out. But I was expecting it to be really, really Christmassy. Snowflakes Over Moondance Cottage. It wasn't. I still gave it 4 stars, but basically it was about this family, these 2 sisters, they're like adults, and their dad went missing years ago, and is it 4 years or something like that, on what's probably like a boat accident, and it's just kind of, I don't want to give too much away, but it's kind of like the repercussions of that and them still like hoping that he's going to come back because they never found a body or anything like that. And it felt very much like a missing person story rather than a Christmas book. I guess at the end, like, it did get a few Christmas bits, but there was it was about like renovating a house and like there was a bit of love in there, which was kind of nice. I liked that aspect of the book. Now I'm actually thinking about it. I don't know why I gave this 4 stars. Like, I should have given it 3. I did give it 4, didn't I? Yeah, I did give it 4, but I feel like I should have given it 3. I think I gave it 4 because I really liked the ending. Bearing in mind that this is like a month ago now, yeah, I think I really liked the ending. That's why I got 4 stars. But it did feel not like a Christmas book and more like a missing person story. So, yeah. The 5th book that I read this year was One More for Christmas by Sarah Morgan. Now, this is Sarah's newest book. It came out in November? October? Does anybody know the answer? It doesn't say. Does my Goodreads tell me? October 2020. There we go. It's quite a chunky boy. I did read this as what was kind of a buddy read as part of like a group, but it wasn't really. It was kind of like, read this chunk and then comment on this post, which has the same number of pages. And I think everyone has kind of similar thoughts to me on it. Basically, it's about this woman, Gail, who's a very successful businesswoman, but in order to be a successful businesswoman in her eyes, she's had to like kind of step away from like family and any emotion and anything like that, and therefore she has kind of alienated her family. So basically she's in an accident. She asks someone to get in touch with one of her daughters, and they're kind of reunited, and they end up going to Scotland for Christmas. Now, this one was probably my first really kind of Christmassy book. This one did feel quite Christmassy. Mind you, in places, you're in Scotland, there's snow, putting up, did they put up a tree? She did have a tree in her flat in New York. I'm not sure if they would have had one in Scotland. Was this the one that they were feeding reindeers? The problem I've got, a book that I'm going to show you in a minute, I got very confused between the two because they're very, very similar. Can't remember whether this one had reindeers in it. I think it did. It did. And then there's an element of one of the daughters, she kind of has a romance thing. What else was there? I can't even remember. Yeah. I can't give away the whole book, can I? So this one here, 4 stars. I thought it was nice. Again, didn't blow my socks off. It was a nice read. That's what I'm calling it. It's a nice read. Didn't disappoint, but it also, there were a lot of pages to tell me what you had to tell me. Like, that's a lot of pages for the amount of story there was. Yeah. The 6th book I read in December was Christmas with Billy and Me by Giovanna Fletcher. This is again a novella of the Billy and Me book series. The book is about Billy and Sophie, who run a cafe in this little village, and in order to find out about that you need to read Billy and Me. Again, a fantastic book, I very much recommend. And obviously it's Christmas at the cafe, and how can I say this without giving too much away? Basically, there's a mystery proposer who gets in touch with Sophie and wants to plan a proposal in the cafe because they think it's like super magical and everything. So it's essentially the story of that. It is a very short book. I think it was something like 60 pages or something, but it's super, super lovely. So I would definitely recommend that as a very quick read. I wish I had it in an actual like cover thing, you know, like a paperback to go with my others. I assume it's in one of those like quick reads things. Do you know what I mean? You know what I mean, I think. But anyway, I did give that one 4 stars. So we're on a bit of a 4-star trend here at the moment, aren't we? Like, is that all I gave out in December? No. Wait and see. The 7th book I read in December was Merry and Bright by Debbie Macumba. Now, this was super quick. Felt like the right amount of story for the right amount of pages it was. It didn't feel like a tremendous story, but I really did, I dropped the book, really did enjoy it. I went through it really, really quickly. There's not a lot of words on each page. I think this took me like one day or one evening, something like that. Definitely recommend, and I actually gave this one 5 stars, so it's my first 5-star book of December, and we're just going to see a trend from now on. This is just what's going to happen. So this is about a woman called Mary, and basically she works in admin for this gentleman called Jason. Now, Jason is not your favourite person in the world, and Mary is lovely. you know, by the sounds of her name, she's called Berry. She's very Christmassy, so, you know, merry and bright. I've only just got that. His name is Jason Bright. I've only just understood that title. Wow. So essentially it's a bit of a romance, it's a bit funny, there's a few bits of laughter in there. Very good, quick Christmas book is what I say about that one. Next in December I read Christmas Shopaholic by Sophie Kinsella. This one I gave 5 stars to. Now I'm not 100% sure whether 5 stars was the right rating to give it. I actually read this on the Kindle app because I didn't have the book with me at the time, but the Kindle book went a lot quicker than what it would have done if I was reading it as paperback, because this is a chunky book, and I mean the writing isn't that small, but yeah, it went quite quick. I think if I'd have read it in the paperback I wouldn't have given it 5 stars because I think it would have dragged a bit. Again, it seems like a lot of pages for the amount of story that there was. Yeah, that seems to be my new way of reviewing books. This was my first Shopaholic series book and I did quite enjoy it, so I think maybe I should try some of the others, but I don't know whether Becky, the main woman in the story, aka the Shopaholic, I don't know whether her mood and the kind of style of writing might only suit certain types of my moods, so it might very much be a mood read. There are bits in here I've shown you before where there's like text speak and kind of like notes to self and things like that, which if I wasn't in a relaxed, happy kind of ha 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 that's funny mood, then I wouldn't enjoy that. So right place, right time kind of thing, I think, for that one, definitely. But I did enjoy it and I would recommend it. So the next book I read in December was Christmas on the Little Cornish Isles, The Driftwood Inn by Philippa Ashley. I've talked about this quite a lot on this channel, I think, already. Actually, it was in one of my reading vlogs. This I really enjoyed. I gave 5 stars. It's essentially about this woman named Maisie who runs a pub with her parents, and she's, you know, all happy as Larry kind of thing, apart from this one guy who's trying to like buy the pub off them. We don't like him. We don't like him. He can go in the dustbin as far as I'm concerned. And this guy turns up on the island from Australia and he's called Patrick. She employs him to work at the inn, or not at the inn. Oh, there's no room at the inn. At the pub, but it's called the Driftwood Inn. And it's kind of the story of what happens from there. I mean, obviously, it's a romance. It is a romance. But we like a bit of romance. It's a super lovely story. There were 2 twists in this book where I was like, oh, no. And then another where I was like, what? What? So it's good. It's got some twists in it. Probably at this point, like the ones we've gone through so far, probably my favourite of the month at this point so far, if that makes sense. The next book I read in December was The Christmas Sisters by Sarah Morgan. This is the one where I was getting really confused between this and One More for Christmas because they are so similar, and I just need to speak to someone who's read both because it's... Right, it's 3 sisters. Their parents died in a avalanche disaster, and they all come home to Scotland for Christmas, which is where their mum, who is, you know, looked after them basically their whole lives, lives. So they all go home to Scotland, and it's got family drama in, like the other one, because Gail, you know, alienated her daughters. So family drama in that one, family drama in this one. That was good. My camera just stopped recording for no reason. So we've got Scotland in both books. Got Christmas in both books. Did they both have reindeers? No, I don't think they did. This one had a cafe in it, so that was a bit different. There was, again, a side romance, so that was exciting. But yeah, there were, I think, you have to read like one of them one year and one of them another year, so you don't really remember the first one, because I felt like there was quite a lot of repetition, but it was quite a nice book. I think I gave this one 5 stars. No, I didn't. I gave this one 4 stars, so I broke my 5-star streak. But yeah, it felt very similar to One More for Christmas. So what more can I say about that, really? Next in December was Christmas Under a Cranberry Sky by Holly Martin, which is the prettiest paperback book that you have ever seen. Let me see if I can try and show you. I've shown this on my channel a million times. I don't know if you can see the glitter and the snow and everything, but it's amazing. It's so beautiful. Probably showing you so rubbish there. This, I think, is leaning towards one of my favourite Holly Martin books that I've read. This was, not only does it have an amazing cover, but it's also an amazing book. It's such a good story. So this is book one of a two-part series called A Town Called Christmas, and it's just lovely. Basically, there's this island, and the people who live there have renamed the whole island like A Town Called Christmas. It is a really small island, mind you. And this guy who owns the island has made it into a place that you can visit all year round and feel like the festive spirit. So what does he have there? There's like what they called like sleigh, ski, toboggan-y thingies. All the houses have been made to look like Christmas lodges. They do Christmas stalls from the people's houses. Basically made like a, what do you call it? Like a big Christmas market out of the island and the people's houses and everything. And it is so lovely. Like all of her books, it is a romance book, but it's lovely. So yeah, I would definitely say possibly my favourite book of the month. I'm just looking at what I read. Yes, I want to say my favourite book of the month. I kind of stormed through this. I lent it to my mum. She also stormed through it. We really enjoyed it. So that's a good one. That's a good one this month. We liked that one. I'm trying to think to compare it to the other Holly Martin books that I've read. One day I'm just going to have to reread them all, aren't I? You know? Maybe once I've finished them all, that might be a good thing to do. But yeah, really loved that one. Definitely rate that. Then the second part to that book is A Town Called Christmas. So this is the second book. It literally starts same point as this one ends. This does leave you a little bit abandoned, so you'd be a bit sad if you didn't have this one already to hand to read, because you get to the last bit and you're like, sorry, what? Did that just end? So you literally have to pick this one up straight away. This one here is about the gentleman, or the gentleman, the man who owns the island, not owns the island, he owns the hotel that's based on the island, which is the whole reason that the island is now called, like, you know, Christmas or whatever it's called. And it's about Piper, who is, what does she do? She is a travel journalist, so she will go and like review hotels and stuff like that. So it's about them too, mostly. And then this one is about Neve, who is that guy's, who is called Gabe. I should be explaining this so bad. Gabe's sister, so Gabe was the owner of the hotel. His sister Neve, she runs the hotel. This is her book about her and Oakley, who is a Hollywood star. And that is, I think, is the first time, yeah, I think it is. I think that's the first time in Holly's books that you've had like a Hollywood heartthrob. Whereas in some other people's, you do get that quite a lot. In some romances, it's like very classic-y, you know, girl in a small town and there's a Hollywood star, but Holly doesn't generally do that, so I quite like that. It was something a little bit different, but definitely Christmas Under a Cranberry Sky just topped it. I do believe that is the case. But yeah, both of those 5 stars, obviously, because they're amazing and they're Holly Martin and so Christmassy. So good, loved the characters. I like that it's a 2-part series because that just felt like the perfect amount, because sometimes 3 parts can, like 3 parts is good, but by the time you get to the 3rd book, like I said with Christmas over Mistletoe Cove, it's a bit of a case of, oh, you know, I kind of know that this is going to happen at this point because you've been setting the scene for the last 2 books. So I quite liked how that happened. 2 books, I liked that. A bit different. The second to last book that I read in December is The Little Christmas Kitchen by Jenny Oliver. This is the only book I read this month which I really did not like. I just didn't think it was Christmassy. I didn't really get it. It didn't gel with me. I thought that some of the characters were a little bit bratty, which you can handle like a certain amount, but it needs to be weighed out with non-bratty people. I don't know whether it's the writing style that made these characters seem bratty, because they're not really. But basically it's about Ella, who lives in London, and essentially she finds out that her husband is possibly like cheating, or not her husband, sorry, her boyfriend is possibly cheating on her. So she goes to Corfu, which is where her family lives. Her sister Maddie is there. She wants to go to London and be a singer and all this. So she's like, that's fine, I'll pay for you to like go back to London and stay in my flat. So Ella sends her sister Maddie to London, and it's about what happens while she's there. She's supposed to have this job when she gets there, and it's what happens about the job and everything, and in her little life that she kind of creates for a week or so in London, in Ella's flat. And Ella stays with her mum in Corfu and helps her manage the cafe that she's got. So that's why it's called the Little Christmas Kitchen. But it didn't feel Christmassy really at all. It felt like it could be any time of year if it wasn't for the random mentions of like Christmas trees and Christmas Day and stuff like that. Yeah, so I gave that, I think, 2 stars. Yeah, I wasn't even generous. Like, I could have given it 1, but I didn't think it was quite as bad as 1. So didn't love that. Sorry. The last book that I read in December, and a book that I have never read before, this is my first read of it, which is also just shameful, is A Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens. This cover is really quite cute. Let that camera adjust so you can see. There you go. Look, it's so pretty. So this is a Wordsworth Classic edition. So I could speak about this because this is my first time reading it. I did give it 5 stars. I actually really loved it. I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much, I don't think, if I hadn't have already like seen the film. Bear in mind, I haven't seen the film for a long time. We're talking like when I was a kid. But I did really enjoy it. It's very straight to the point, isn't it? There's no faffing around in this book, which I love. So yeah, those are the 14 books that I read this month. Been a good reading month. Can I keep that up? Probably not. If I read 14 books per month for a year, I'd reach 268 books. But this was very much a sit down and just read book. You can't really go anywhere at the moment, so you know, what else can I do for the month of December? Not an awful lot, really. So very good month. Very highly rated, really. I mean, there's only 1 book that I didn't enjoy, like, at all, that I wanted to just, like, put down. But it was good. I finished it. A lot of 5 stars. I think my favourite book of the month is definitely Christmas Over a Cranberry Sky. Definitely that one. Second after that, possibly Christmas on the Little Cornish Isles. I think that would probably be my second favourite book of the month. Now, obviously, The Little Christmas Kitchen is my least favourite book of the month. That can get a big fat no from me. But yeah, those are my December reads. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you all soon. We'll see how many books I managed to read for January. What I really should do is like track how many pages I managed to read in a month as well. Goodreads doesn't do that. Yeah. Never mind, I'm not going to do that now because that seems like a massive faff and it's getting dark outside. So yeah. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy reading, and I'll see you all soon. Bye!